In the year 2021, a devastating fire swept through Cox's Bazar, a site emblematic of human despair and resilience. This catastrophe claimed the lives of 11 people, including children, and rendered approximately 50,000 individuals homeless, shattering the fabric of countless families. Amidst this chaos, the family tracking team of Save the Children emerged as a beacon of hope, successfully reuniting 289 separated children with their families. Furthermore, the fire ravaged 163 instructional rooms, disrupting the education of thousands of students and casting a shadow on the future of a generation. This calamity in Cox's Bazar is not a standalone event, but rather a symptom of a deeper malaise that plagues the region. It's a poignant illustration of a crisis that transcends mere religious conflict, evolving into a complex symphony of economic and political discord. But what other layers of complexity underpin this crisis? Let's delve deeper to understand the underlying currents. The Rohingya, an ethnic minority in Myanmar, are often described by UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres as one of, if not the, most discriminated people in the world. This community, numbering around 1 million at the start of 2017, predominantly resides in Myanmar's Rakhine state. Comprising the majority of Muslims in the country, the Rohingya have their distinct language and culture, claiming lineage from Arab merchants and various ethnicities that have historically inhabited the region. Siegfried O. Wolf, a scholar, portrays the plight of the Rohingyas as a brutal struggle for resources and identity against the majority Buddhist Rakhine society. This struggle has led to heightened tensions and violent confrontations, ensnaring the Rohingya in a web of cultural prejudice, economic exploitation, and political marginalization. The political landscape further complicates the situation. The voting patterns of the Rohingyas have intensified animosities, fueling government support for Buddhist extremists and escalating intercommunal conflicts. Economics plays a critical role in this complex scenario. Despite the resource-rich nature of Rakhine state, it remains mired in poverty, fostering resentment towards the Rohingyas as an economic burden. The issue transcends religious differences, manifesting as an explosive mix of political unrest and economic instability. As legislative elections approach, the situation for the Rohingya deteriorates further, with fears of ethno-cultural outbidding, threatening to exploit and reinforce anti-Muslim sentiments. Each passing year in the turbulent path of the Rohingya catastrophe, etching a terrible chapter into the lives of those trapped in its clutches. Let's take a look at the chronology, which traces the catastrophe from 1982 to the present. In 1982, a significant shift in Myanmar's legal landscape occurred when citizenship legislation effectively rendered the Rohingya stateless. This exclusion from citizenship marks the beginning of a relentless journey of hardship and displacement for the Rohingya. The following decade saw a dramatic escalation in this crisis. By the early 1990s, around 250,000 Rohingya were displaced due to intensified military operations. Fleeing persecution, they seek refuge in Bangladesh, where Save the Children, operational in Rakhine since 1970, launches relief operations in response to this growing humanitarian crisis. The situation reached a critical point between 2015 and 2016, when 33,000 Rohingya undertook a perilous journey to Malaysia and Thailand, seeking safety and a chance for a better life. The killing of 9 Myanmar police officers in 2016 ignites further unrest, leading to a brutal military response. Over 1,000 Rohingya are killed, and an additional 90,000 are displaced. August 2017 marks a turning point in the Rohingya crisis. The violence escalates, triggering a mass exodus of refugees fleeing the turmoil. Save the Children expands its operations in Bangladesh, aiming to reach 150,000 people with essential aid by September. This year witnessed the arrival of over 700,000 Rohingya in Bangladesh, including 370,000 children, creating the world's largest refugee camp. In 2018, the Rohingya population in the camps surpassed 700,000, with the majority being children. Save the Children establishes learning centres and provides basic necessities, creating child-friendly spaces, identification wristbands, and a primary healthcare facility to meet the community's immediate needs. April 2020 brings a poignant reminder of the Rohingyas' plight, as a boat with families adrift at sea is recovered after 2 months. The pandemic's arrival in May strains Bangladesh's healthcare system, prompting Save the Children to set up an isolation and treatment facility. In 2021, tragedy strikes Cox's Bazar, with a catastrophic fire. 11 lives are lost, including children, and 50,000 people are rendered homeless. Save the Children's Family Tracking Team reunites 289 separated children, offering a ray of hope amidst devastation. The destruction of 163 instructional rooms disrupts the education of thousands. The Rohingya journey continues, with the need for action as urgent as ever. Myanmar's journey of political and economic transformation began in 2011 with a transitional military administration. The democratic elections of 2015 seemed to herald a bright future. The period between 2011 and 2019 is a golden era marked by an average annual economic growth of 6% and a significant poverty reduction. However, hope waned as Rakhine's state experienced horrific bloodshed in 2017, resulting in a refugee crisis. February 2021 sees a dramatic shift as the military seizes power, dimming the prospects of democracy. The pandemic and the Ukraine conflict add to the challenges, resulting in a multifaceted crisis that engulfs the nation's growth. The economic impact is profound. COVID-19 and the military takeover led to a staggering 30% reduction in economic activity. Real GDP per capita plummets to 13% below the 2019 benchmark. The economy struggles to recover amidst soaring input costs, power outages, and logistical challenges. Regulatory shifts add to the confusion for businesses. Labour market uncertainties dominate the domestic scene, with inequality taking centre stage. According to the Myanmar Subnational Phone Survey, half of the families face declining incomes, while a fortunate few experience financial stability. The government's spending on health and education is halved, exacerbating the disruption in these vital sectors due to both the pandemic and the coup. Food security has become a critical issue, with a significant increase in agricultural families facing uncertainty. Nutritious food items become scarce, leaving the population nutritionally vulnerable. In the first half of 2023, Myanmar rides a tumultuous economic rollercoaster. The nation's economic stability is as fragile as a soap bubble amidst a tempest. Exchange rates soar and plummet like erratic rock stars, while food and fuel inflation shyly lingers in the background. Consumer price inflation, averaging 5.9% in the decade leading to 2021, eclipses the Asia-Pacific regional average of 2.2%, peaking at 6.2% in 2021. But who's notably absent from this economic fate? Household earnings. Still reeling from last year's economic downturn, they trail behind in the nation's attempt to march toward growth. Import restrictions form a formidable barrier, hindering enterprises from securing crucial inputs. And then there's the drama of power outages, an unwanted guest in economic turmoil. The government, a maestro of economic uncertainty, introduces new laws and restrictions that further convolute international commerce and financial transfers. Enterprises navigate a labyrinth of regulatory challenges. Exporters, in particular, grapple with inflated currency rates, mandatory conversions, and the scarcity of imported inputs. On February 1st, 2021, a seismic shift occurred as the Myanmar military seized power, overturning Aung San Suu Kyi's administration. This coup marks the beginning of a new and harrowing chapter. An estimated 70,000 individuals flee their homes, with over 1 million more displaced carelessly. The aftermath resembles a never-ending drama, with the military orchestrating a grim narrative. The United Nations has accused senior military officials of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The civil war's effects felt intensely over the past 18 months paint a bleak picture. The military employs air power, gunships, and ground assault aircraft in a display of force, devastating towns and homes in a twisted critique of architecture. The human cost is staggering. 40% of the population languishes in poverty, 8 million children are out of school, and 15 million face the dire risk of hunger. The military's grip tightens, with elections on the horizon, yet the democratic spirit flickers dimly. Aung San Suu Kyi, the victor of the last democratic election, finds herself sidelined, her National League for Democracy party in a state of enforced dormancy. The military's hold on power casts a long shadow over the nation's future, with protested elections deemed insignificant in the grand scheme. In the eyes of the West, Myanmar may appear to be in shambles, yet for many in Asia, it remains a beacon of opportunity. World Bank Country Director Mariam Sherman acknowledges, while Myanmar is again making economic progress, the growth is unequal and the poorest are being hit hard by consecutive shocks. Despite the heartbreak of the Rohingya crisis, it directly affects only about 1 million of Myanmar's 54 million people. While Western nations contemplate economic sanctions, Myanmar finds solace in the economic support of Asian allies, like China, Japan, Thailand, India, and Singapore. Yangon streets tell a different story, seemingly unaffected by the Rohingya crisis. It's business as usual in the bustling city, marked by traffic congestion and ongoing construction projects. Surveys indicate that rural Myanmar, home to the majority, is thriving. From 2013 to 2016, real wages rose by 23%, and previously overlooked areas saw the introduction of schools, electricity and roads, with poverty rates dropping significantly. However, the other 53 million citizens, especially ethnic minorities, face a different reality, often caught between attacks and unresolved truces with Myanmar's military forces. Yangon's Scott Market, once a hub of economic activity, now paints a somber picture. Post-epidemic and military coup, exports have plummeted, and once thriving businesses now face stagnation due to import challenges and political instability. The United States sanctions and blacklists add to the economic woes, with international companies operating in a ghost town-like environment around Yangon. Despite these challenges, transactions continue in neighbouring countries, providing a lifeline to the faltering economy. In an ironic twist, Myanmar's agricultural sector, particularly rice exports to China and India, could potentially generate significant revenue, despite a quarter of the population struggling to afford basic meals. The State Administration Council, or SAKE administration, attempts to rescue the economy with a facade of urgency and promises. However, their efforts falter, failing to address the economic and political chaos they have fostered. The SAC's aspirations for legitimacy and stability seem disconnected from the harsh realities of the economic and political crises they have created. Meanwhile, opponents advocate for further isolation, but the financial hardships faced by ordinary citizens cannot be ignored. International focus on targeting the SAC's foreign cash flows overlooks the plight of workers in crucial industries. A more balanced approach is needed, one that pressures the SAC to alleviate the people's financial burdens, while also planning for future reconstruction. As Myanmar's economy teeters, the challenge lies in prioritizing the welfare of families and finding a realistic path forward that minimizes additional suffering. The economic drama unfolding in Myanmar calls for a thoughtful, strategic approach, blending immediate relief with long-term planning for recovery. As of November 2023, Malaysia, a land of diverse cultures and lush palm trees, hosts over 185,000 refugees and asylum seekers. Of these, a staggering 162,040 hail from Myanmar, with approximately 107,520 identifying as Rohingya. Despite the lack of formal recognition, Malaysia does not officially employ Rohingyas. Instead, they find their niche in the vibrant, informal economy, subtly blending into society. A study by the Protecting Rohingya Refugees in Asia initiative unveils the economic resilience of the Rohingya community. Contrary to common perceptions, most Rohingya refugees are self-sufficient, alleviating potential burdens on the state. Imagine a community of educated, ambitious, and hopeful Rohingya in Malaysia. They are not passive recipients of aid, but active contributors to society. Evan Jones of the Asia Displacement Solutions platform remarks, Rohingya are actively seeking out livelihood opportunities and are eager to continue learning. In November 2023, 5 boats carrying over 1,100 emaciated refugees arrived on the shores of Aceh in northern Sumatra, Indonesia. The reception, however, is far from warm. The Ikanese villagers, wary of past experiences and cultural misunderstandings, enforce a no-landing policy. The Indonesian authorities, quick to point fingers, blame smuggling networks for exploiting their nation's kindness. The media capitalizes on the situation, perpetuating negative stereotypes about refugees. Yet amidst the rejection, a glimmer of humanity shines through. Approximately 230 locals defy the general sentiment, providing refuge to the Rohingya on an unused plot of land, vowing not to force them back to sea. Humanitarian workers caught between compassion and pressure navigate this delicate situation. The tale of Myanmar's economy is a wild ride, marked by bank runs, currency fluctuations and political turmoil. The State Administration Council grapples with these challenges like trying to solve a complex puzzle with missing pieces. Can Myanmar's economy emerge from this chaos? As the story unfolds, the unpredictability of Myanmar's economic stability remains its only constant. The future of this once promising nation hangs in the balance, a gripping narrative of resilience and uncertainty.